In this video, I'm going to show you how to create some interiors and a very basic cover for self-published pre-writing workbooks or pen-controlled tracing books aimed at kids to help get them into handwriting. And these are designed to be published on the Amazon KDP platform. So if you want to get into self-publishing these types of books or earn some money online, a passive income, then follow along as I show you how to get started in creating these types of books. Now, if you've not been here before, then welcome to the channel. My name's Paul Marles and I do videos on how to make it, keep it and grow it. And that's your money I'm talking about. And if you do like videos like that, then please do give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and smash that notification bell to receive notification of when I produce more videos like this. Okay, so this video is a follow-on to a video I did a few days ago about the market for these books and in particular the keywords and the keyword research essential for getting your books seen and found on Amazon so that customers can buy them. So if you haven't watched that already, I'll leave a link to it above and in the description below, and I'd probably recommend watching that first and then maybe coming back to this video where I'm going to show you how to create 3 different types of interiors and also a very basic book cover. So you can combine that with the information from the first video and create your own book all ready to publish on the Amazon platform and hopefully make some sales and hopefully build an income from it. Okay, so let's have a quick look at what the interiors of these books look like. As you can see here, they are basically just dotted lines that young children around age 2 to 3 can draw along. And these shapes or wavy lines are designed to help kids with their fine motor movements to help them get the practice ready for when they start handwriting properly. Now here we have some ideas for the different types of interiors. I've just gone to Google and done an image search for pre-writing practice, and we've got a good idea of all the different types of interiors. So if you're looking for inspiration on the different pages that you can produce, then this is a good resource to look at. Because what you want to do with these books is have a variety of pages in there. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, most books have around 100 to 120 pages, which is quite a lot of content. So you need a good source of ideas and inspiration for the interiors just to mix it up a bit. Now, in creating these books, you basically got the paid option and the free option. Now, paid option obviously costs you money but saves you time, and you've got the free option, which I'm going to show you today in a moment. Now, just a couple of examples of paid options. The first one is Creative Fabrica. I put in a search term pre-writing practice workbook and came up with this here, which is just 12 pages of different handwriting practice workbook pages, and they've got a full print-on-demand license, so you can use these to create your books. This publisher also has some other pages for sale. Now, the main issue with this would be around the problem of duplicate content, because you can imagine, say for example, 500 people went from this video, bought these interiors and just published them as is, then you're going to get quite a few books with the same interior, which could cause issues of duplicate content, which Amazon doesn't like, and understandably so, because it doesn't really give a good customer experience. So if you were going to go down this route, I would suggest mixing up the pages and also creating some of your own designs to put in, and also, you know, if you get pages you bought them from elsewhere, also mix those in as well so you don't get issues around the duplicate content. Now, the other option is Fiverr. Now, again, I did a search for pre-writing and came up with this particular publisher who will publish or create a whole book for you. Now, it's not cheap. Up to 30 pages was 135 Australian dollars, which is around 100 US dollars, or 50 pages would be around 150, 160 dollars, and a premium offer of 100 pages, which would work out, I think, around about the 300 to 320 US dollars. But these would be, I hope, bespoke interiors, and you could have some input into what you wanted inside the interior. Now, if you were just starting out, I probably wouldn't recommend you doing this, but if you're already publishing books on the KDP platform and you're making money, this may be a good investment, somewhere to put that money you've made to create another book and hopefully make even more sales. Okay, so now let's get on to actually making or creating an interior. Now for this, we're going to need vector editing software, and I'm going to be using Affinity Designer. Now another option, which is a lot more expensive, is Adobe Illustrator, which is fantastic software. It's what I created most of my books on until I purchased Affinity Designer. And in fact, Affinity Designer is still running their half price offer, which I think works out at around about 25 to 30 US dollars. And is an absolute bargain. I'm using that at the moment to create all my thumbnails for my videos, all my book covers and all my book interiors. And for the price, I don't think you can get much better. But if you want a free option, you can do this also in Inkscape or Gravit Designer. Now with Gravit Designer, you do need to pay to upgrade to the Pro version, but you should be able to do what I'm going to show you quite easily in just the basic version. Now, people often ask me, because a lot of people are using Canva, can you do this in Canva? The simple answer is no, because you need to be able to edit vectors. However, you could take the images that you've created or edited, and you could take them across to Canva to create the interior of your book. Now I create most of my interiors after I've created the graphics. I usually put them all together in something like a PowerPoint or Keynote, which I'll show you in a bit. So let's go across to Affinity Designer and create a new document. Now this is going to be 8.5 by 11 inches, and these covers, or interiors, sorry, are not going to have bleed, so we can create our page of 8.5 by 11 inches. And most of the books that I've seen published on Amazon are around this size. Now we're going to create some different shaped lines for kids to trace along, and I'm going to show you just some very basic and very quick techniques to create these. So we're going to choose a pen tool, and we're just going to create this triangle shape like so. Now we've got a solid stroke here in black. Now we want a dotted line, so we click on the stroke tab and we click on the dash line style, and in these four boxes here we can change the attributes of our dashed line. So we're just going to change the first figure to 2 and the second one also to 2, and we want to increase the thickness of our stroke, so we click on this width adjustment button here, and we can increase that as we want, and we're going to do this at 3 points. Okay, and we just go back to the move tool, and there we have our dotted line. Now this isn't going to be perfect because it's just going to be quick, so what we need to do now is just draw a bounding box around that. Click on option and then just drag, and again option, drag. And you can see we're creating this, I would call a zigzag line. I'll just move that over into the middle. Now these dashed lines are black, and I want them in grey for kids to trace over. So again, a bounding box around that. Go to our color tab, and we're going to go to the RGB hex settings and just put in CC, 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 enter, and we've got our dotted line. Now, the next sort of line that you commonly see in these books is more of a wavy line. So again, using the pen tool, just click to start, move along horizontally, and just click again. Now this time, rather than letting your finger off the mouse button, just drag and it will open up these Bezier controls. At least I think that's what they're called. And you just create a nice curve. And then what I do is just hold down option, just click on that control button there, and it will disappear. Then I go horizontal again, hold down the left mouse key and just again drag and produce another curve, and make sure it looks good with the other curve, that it flows nicely. Again option, click on that button to make it disappear, just move along horizontally, and again just do the same. So we'll do that quickly to finish off. Click on the move tool, Move that around to the center. Might need to just enlarge that ever so slightly. So holding down Shift and Command, I'm just going to increase the size. We may need to reduce that in a bit. So there you've got a quick wavy line, which looks pretty good. So now we're going to do like a sawtooth, a coarse sawtooth line. I suppose this one at the top is a sawtooth, but we're going to do a square sawtooth. So again, pen tool. Now this time we're going to left click on the mouse, move along horizontally. Again, left click on the mouse, and then up vertically, left click on the mouse. Now, holding down Option, I'll go back to the Move tool, put a bounding box around the shape you just drawn, holding down Option, just drag to the left. Now right click, go to Transform, and click on Flip Vertical. Holding down Option, again, drag to the right, right click, Transform, Flip Vertical. Holding down Option, drag again, right click, Transform, Flip Vertical. And we're going to draw a horizontal line here, so use the pen tool, just click at the bottom of that line, move across, and we've got our square sawtooth line. So I'm just going to move that. Again, it doesn't look perfect. If I was doing this properly, I would take a lot more time over it. Now, I want to put some graphics on either side of this just to make it a bit more interesting for kids. So for this, I went across to Vecteezy. Now I do have a pro license here. If you want to learn about the licenses for all these software platforms, then they always have a page called Licensing Agreement. I get lots of questions on licensing. I can't answer them, I'm afraid, because they do change for each site. I don't keep up to date with them unless I'm going to be using them myself, in which case, I'm using Vecteezy here. I'll quickly go to the licensing page and just check that I'm up to date with any potential changes. So we're going to download these fishing icons and also these dog themed icons as well, and I've downloaded those to my computer. So we'll go back to Affinity Designer and go to the fishing icons. I want this fishing rod, so I'm just going to draw a bounding box around that fishing rod. Command C or Control C to copy, Command V or Control V to paste. Now that's far too big, so we're just going to reduce that in size, move that approximately into the position we want. Now this is pointing the wrong way, so right click, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And again, I'm going to just reduce the size of that slightly. Then we'll go back to our icons. I'm going to pick a fish, bounding box around the fish, Command C, Control C to copy, go back to the page, Command V to paste, reduce the size, put it at an angle, and just move that into place like so. We'll go to our dog page, bounding box around this dog, Command C, Control C to copy, paste, reduce the size, put that into position. And this is a hungry dog, so we're going to highlight or bounding box around the food, paste, reduce the size, move that into position. Now I said this looks a bit big for the page, so I'm going to do a bounding box around everything, Shift and Command, and just holding down the left mouse button, just reduce that slightly in size. And you would repeat that for the whole page, but I'm not going to do that here because I'd bore you to death. Now, one little point to note: when downloading these, you want to make sure they are vector files that you're downloading, and that would be .ai, .eps or .svg files, and not .png or .jpg or JPEG files, because you wouldn't be able to do this with those types of files. Okay, so we're going to create another type of page, again 8.5 by 11 inches. And this type of page is just going to have letters on for kids to trace over. So we're going to click on the text tool, or artistic text tool as it calls it, and just click on our page. We're going to do a capital A, click on the Move tool, and just enlarge that by holding down Shift or Command, or just Command and dragging. And we're going to do 4 of these letters just across the page. They can be nice and big. Now this is a solid black font, but we want a dotted font. And I'm going to use one today called ABC Dotted. Now I've downloaded this from Fonts for Teachers, and you can make yourself familiar with the licensing agreement. I bought this on a small publisher license, and I emailed the author of these licenses who said it was okay to use on print-on-demand books. So I'm going to use that today. Now, if you wanted to be a bit more fancy, you could put lines there, because with the download, there were lots of different types of fonts, even these Halloween fonts. But you could do a dotted font with lines. But I don't want to do that today. I just want the basic ABC dotted font. And again, I want this in grey. So I'm just going to go over to the hex code box and put in CC, 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 enter. And there we have our letters on the page. I'm just going to move those over to around about the middle of the page. Now you could repeat this for each line, but a quick shortcut would be to hold down the Option key, left click on the mouse and just drag down like so. And you've got 4 lines there. And you can just align those like so. And so you could do this with all the letters of the alphabet and mix them up with the other exercises. Okay, now we're going to do a third page. Again, 8.5 by 11. Now this is going to be an image which is going to have some shapes in there which kids can trace around. Now I went over to Creative Fabrica. As I said, I use Creative Fabrica for many of my images, and I found these cute bugs and clip art to download. And as you note here, it says full print on demand usage allowed. When doing a search on Creative Fabrica, you can click on this option here, which will just give you graphics or images that can be used on print on demand products. So that's very useful, so you know you're not going to get into any issues there. So I downloaded that. We'll go back over to Affinity Designer, go to our page. So I just dragged those across into Affinity Designer, and I'm just going to drag a bounding box around this ladybird here. Command C, Control C to copy, go to our page, Command V, Control V to paste, and just enlarge that. Now we seem to have got some insect's legs or something up there, so I'm just going to delete those. And again, just enlarge our ladybird a bit bigger, move that over to an angle and like so, put it in the center of the page. Now I want these circles here as dotted line circles for kids to trace over. So I just clicked on one of the circles. Now we've got a solid black stroke here. Click on the stroke tab, click on our dash line style, click on our dash 2 and 2. And we want the color again to be light grey. CC, CC, CC. And also we want the stroke to be larger. Now that's too large, but we'll go for, I think this time we'll go for 4 points. And we'll repeat that process for all these dots, and I'll do that quickly and jump forward. And here we have our finished image, and we've got these 6 circles that kids can draw around. Okay, so now we need to build the interior of our book using these pages. Now today I'm going to show you how to do this in PowerPoint. I've created most of mine in either PowerPoint or Keynote. Again, you can do similar to this in Canva or Affinity Publisher or Adobe InDesign. But this is a pretty much foolproof way of doing it, which has worked for me in all the books I've created. And it's just a process I know, and I'm quick at doing it and I don't make any errors. So I've created an 8.5 by 11 inch page. This is going to be our first page. Now I'm just going to copy that and just paste down. And you would keep going down until you get to the number of pages that's going to be in your book. So I won't do all 100. So we go to our first page, go to Affinity Designer. Let's pick this insect. Now to make sure everything's aligned perfectly, I normally draw I click on the rectangle tool and draw an invisible border around our page. Now that's got a fill, and we don't want that, so we just click on no fill. And the stroke, again, no stroke. And click on our move tool, put a bounding box around everything. Command C, Control C to copy, go to PowerNote and just paste. And that will be in the right place on the page. And again, repeat this for the other pages that we've created. And you can see you would do that for each consecutive page and build up your interior, and then you would save as a PDF file, and that will be ready to upload direct to the KDP, the Amazon KDP platform. Now I'm just going to show you how to create or do a front cover. If you were creating the cover properly, you would have to download or get the template. I usually go to bookow.com, put in the attributes of the book, which is the page size and the number of pages, and you will get a template to download, or they'll email it to you, and they'll include the sign, the size, including the bleed and the spine width. So, but I'm just going to show you how to create a very basic front cover. So first of all, we want to add a bit of color there. So I'm just going to use the rectangle tool and drag down and we'll have this go over to HSL, and I think we'll have this in a sort of a light turquoisey type colour. Then I'm going to lock that page, and then I'm going to draw another rectangle, move that to around about the center, and this time we're going to do no stroke, and the fill color is going to be white. So I'll just drag the slider over to that, and I want rounded corners to this box, so I'm just going to click on this corner option here and click on rounded, and then just adjust this slider here, just a slight rounded corner. Now what I'm going to do next with that box highlighted is just Command C, Control C to copy, then Command C or Control V to paste. Then holding down the left mouse button and holding down Shift and Command, I'm just going to increase the size of that box that's on top ever so slightly, like so. Then I'm going to go to the colour, I'm going to go to the fill and do that as no fill. And for the stroke option, I'm going to give this stroke like so of, let's go for 3 points, and this is going to be dashed. Again, the attributes 2 and 2, and the colour is going to be grey. I think I'll make that a bit darker than the grey, so I'm just going to go back to my sliders and just make that a bit darker like so, so that it's visible. That looks a bit better. Now, when I downloaded those bug clip art files, I also downloaded the colour options, and we're going to use this ladybird again. Command C, Control C to copy and paste it onto our page, and that's going to go into the middle. So I'm just going to enlarge that and just angle it slightly. Now I want to use some components of the pages we've already made. So I'm going to take this dog and dog bowl and wavy line, Command C, Control C to copy and paste that into place, drag that down, move it at an angle, and we can move that around ever so slightly and always just enlarge it ever so slightly as well. And I'm going to take the row of the letters that we created, Command C to copy, go to our page and paste and just drag those into place. Now if you find these, the layer for these is on top of your ladybird, in your layers panel you can just drag that below the ladybird. Now I'm just going to enlarge this because I want to show you something. I want to put the dotted lines in here. So we've got this circle and we're going to have the fill, which is currently black. We're going to change that using the slider to white. Now I'm going to copy that white circle, so Command C and then Control or Command V to paste on top. Then holding down Shift and Command, we're just going to reduce the size of that circle ever so slightly. And at the moment it doesn't have a stroke, so click on our stroke button, click on black, go to stroke, dashed line 2 and 2, you know the routine already, and increase the thickness, move that down a bit, and the colour to a grey, and we'll do that this time using the sliders. And what I would do is repeat that for all these circles here. Alright, now it looks like I've moved something, move that box back into place. Okay, so now what I want is some pencils on here. So again, I went over to Creative Fabrica and downloaded these pencils here. Back to Affinity Designer and just a bounding box around one of the pencils, Control copy, and we'll paste that into place, Command V. Reduce that in size, and I think we'll drag that up here like so, just reduce ever so slightly. Now I'm going to change the colours of this pencil. So we're going to click on the middle section, click on make sure we're on the fill, and we're going to move the bottom slider to 50. I think that's the luminance, the saturation all the way across to 100, and then the colour to red. And we're going to do exactly the same for these outer components, 50, 100, red. But this time I want to make those a bit darker. So for the luminance, we're going to make that a little bit darker like so, and the same for the actual colouring part of the pencil. And this particular pencil we've done in blue. Okay, so now we need the writing or title of our book. So we're going to click on the text tool, just click on our book, type in preschool, going to enlarge that, move that to around the center, and just going to option, drag down, double click on that and type in writing. Move that to approximately under the middle of preschool. Now this is a pretty boring font, so let's try with a different font. And we're going to go for one called Marker Felt. And again, just drag, things have moved a little. So I'm just gonna hold down Shift, click on both sentences, holding down Shift and Command, just enlarge both of those. I think we'll angle that a little, again enlarge a little bit. And we're going to put this in a color, so move our luminance to 50, saturation to 100, and then just change the color. I think we're going to go for a yellow. Now that doesn't really stand out, so what we're going to do is put a stroke around these words. So click on the stroke button and just click on black. And we're going to increase the thickness of our stroke, but not too much, just enough so that the word stands out. And there we would have the basics, or the basic cover for one of these types of books. It looks very simple, but the colors look good. You know, you could experiment with different types of fonts, adding something down at the bottom, maybe something along the lines of the age group at which this book is aimed at. Now, a very similar book to these, or very similar thing to these, is the handwriting book niche. Again, use a similar process to create them. So you could also create those in conjunction with these types of books. And if you're interested in creating one of those types of books, then I've already done a video on that, and you can watch that next, which I advise by clicking this video here. So that's all your interiors and covers brought together so you can create the whole book. I hope you found that useful. Thank you very much for watching. It's very much appreciated. And until next time, goodbye.